for the the show, and they're waiting to introduce this guy. It's him. He's 28 years old. Okay, so he starts talking about. He says, "I love you guys." Everybody sits up in their seat and says, "Google loves us." He says, "I love you guys because you don't know what you're doing, and you're creating so many opportunities for me." Now, here's what he's doing. You guys are all young enough. You probably won't. This is not a wow factor the way it is for old guys like me. You get the app, right? You got to have the Google app. You say, "I want to rent an apartment. Here's the general area where I want a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Here's the price range I'm interested in." Boom. Everything goes in the app. It says, "Go get in your car and turn the ignition on. Let's go for a drive." Turn left, Google Maps, right? Left, right, blah, blah, blah. It says, "Stop." You look up and you're in front of an apartment complex. And it said, "You don't go in. You're going to do what people like me said. You go in and tour, right? Now you're doing it all right on your smartphone." Well, here's what a 2-bedroom unit looks like. You can get it with a view, without a view. Here's the amenities. Here's the 360 view. Da, 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 da. All right, that sounds kind of simple, right? All they did was they took video and put it online. Here's where it gets cool. By the way, you're connected to 6 people that live here. It got into your contacts, it got into your Facebook, it got into your Twitter, and it says, "You know your good friend Fred? His sister lives here." And you go, "I met her at a party last month. She's really nice." All that apprehension about, is this really where I want to live, it goes away. Because Fred's sister lives here, and she's nice, and I like Fred. Okay? Now, those of us that still have hair, that, although it's gray, we're sitting in the audience going, "What did he just say?" Then he says, "By the way, we've been working with developers," and he said, "I don't know anything about real estate, but I'm talking to some developers outside of San Francisco one day," and I say, "If you could reduce the size of a unit, would that be good if the tenant didn't realize it?" Duh. Okay. So he says, "Well, every apartment I've been in so far, and I've been in a couple hundred, everybody's got a big screen TV on a chest or dresser in their bedroom. Everyone I've been into." And he says, "You know, these are built to be on walls." And the developer says, "What? Well, you need a dresser anyway, right? And you really need an apartment. You don't want to go to the expense of installing the thing, doing the wall mount and all that." And so the Google guy says, "Why don't you do built-ins in the closet?" And the developers say, "Tenants love built-ins, but I can't afford them." And the Google guy says, "You can reduce the width of the room by a foot.
Right.
How much will that save you?" They come back, do the math. Like, "I can afford built-ins." Okay, what's that all about? It's just a guy asking questions, a smart guy. Okay, but it's also a guy that knows his market, and so I kind of digress there. But the point is, I believe there's a lot of opportunities in our industry if you can get more customer-centric and work with your development team. Very, very few developers understand their market. They just look at it as a mass. You find the same kind of.
Yeah, I just wanted, and we'll talk about this later if you guys are interested, but I had one of the groups that's been working in the other class send me some questions yesterday or the day before they met with the developer, and I found very interesting, the focus of the questions were along the line. I understand because of the background, the professional background, so I'm looking at the person who sent it to me, but it was, talk to me about the building plans, talk to me about elevations that you've done, talk to me about zoning, and it was all about the structure. And the feedback I got from you later after you met with the client or the developer was, he wants to know about the market.
Exactly.
He doesn't care about the building. And I thought, here's a guy he's got it. He wants to know who's going to rent the space from him and what he can do to make that space more attractive. So here's a guy that's going to make some money, hopefully, because it's not about the building and how pretty and what color, and if it's a multifamily, the fixtures. It's about who's gonna be in there and what value are you adding to their life to make them wanna stay longer and pay you more. And developers just love, you know, before, when I was in graphic arts before, I used to do a tour of our plant. It was 300,000 square feet. I'd walk it backwards. And I'd tell people, and this machine runs at this speed. Clients didn't care about that. They wanted to know how much cheaper or better their product was gonna be. You know, I was amazed or impressed by the machinery. They didn't care about that. They wanted their end product. And, you know, that's what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I think especially, I don't want to overplay social media, but you all are so, the millennials are so conversant with it. And I don't take for granted that everybody knows what you know. Old farts like me don't know anything about social media. Okay? And so the more you focus on it, the better off you're going to be. So a couple weeks ago, I go visit our new apartment complex we're building in Huntersville, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. High-end neighborhood, building really, really nice units. We're doing the built-ins. We're wall-mounting TVs for everybody. We heard the go-go guy. And I start looking in the master baths, and every one of them has the shower head is the kind that drops right out of the ceiling. It's like a waterfall.
Yeah.
And I said, that's interesting. Yeah. Don't you love the waterfall shower head? Yeah, I do. I think it's really cool. All right, women, not this stereotype, women in the class. Tell me what you think about those.
Women of color are not for water dropping directly on our head. No, it's the truth. We're not for that. That's the second you said that, I'm like, no, we don't want that.
There we go.
We don't wash every day. If you're washing your hair, fine, but we don't get our hair wet every day.
Right. You wash your hair I don't want to be personal. You wash your hair every day?
Yes.
Do you really? Okay.
Most days.
Okay. What if you don't want to wash your hair? Gotta put a shower cap on.
Yeah.
None of this.
It doesn't work.
This was guy developed, guy designed, guy built.
Yeah.
Okay? And I walked in and it's like about a family of women. I said, I don't think my wife wears a shower cap every time she takes a shower. And they go, huh? I said, I don't think I'm like, she doesn't wash her hair every single day. At least I don't think she does. Really? I mean, it was like, oh crap, what do we do now? So as the tenants move in, we're going to see what the feedback is. My prediction is they're going to do the second shower head coming out of the wall and with a device
can
that goes
alternate.
Is it installed up top or is it coming out? So you have
It's
a
up top itself.
handle.
coming right out of the ceiling. Now,
Interesting.
the construction and development guys are like, the look on their fright on their face right now is unbelievable because they say, well, when you have a dual shower head where you can do one or both, they leak. I don't care. You know, if a tenant won't move in or the tenant's going to be unhappy, you're going to have to do something. So we need more women in construction, by the way.
Working on it.
This is me. Some of those weren't, but this is me.
Can I ask you a quick question on the last thing? So are you all looking at how to then take some, like you say you're doing like these profiles on the customer. Are you starting to take some of that information and from that like design standpoint before you take off on a project, begin to implement some of that information?
Definitely. Not only in the design stage, but the marketing stage as well. What are we selling? Okay, if you talk to our development and design people, we're designing beautiful apartments with green carpet or no, here's now we're using wood floors. Okay, they're cheap, a lot cheaper, not real wood, but faux wood they call it. Wait a minute, are you selling a lifestyle? What? Okay, what we do in our apartments, for example, where we have millennials and younger people, we do a free breakfast every morning. It's bagels and coffee. Okay, and we have it set up as a very large room, but we do 2 really, really long tables. No, not individual tables. The whole point is socialization. Meet your neighbors, okay? So who's not gonna drop by for a cup of coffee and a bagel in the morning? It's amazing, you go in there at 8 o'clock in the morning, how crowded it gets. In fact, we think we undersized the thing, so. Why? Because we knew from our research that socialization was really important. 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds aren't gonna do that. Retirees will. In fact, they won't leave, they'll stay there through lunch, till their afternoon nap. So, yeah, absolutely. I was a CFO at the PGA of America for 11 years, and in addition, I was in charge of their golf course development and licensing operation. And it had always been the dream of the PGA to own its own facilities. And so I work out a deal. We were based in Palm Beach Gardens, and so I work out a deal with the developer in Port St. Lucie, which is half hour away, something like that. He agrees to donate 600-700 acres for us to build golf courses. He gives us the land for free and also gives us a percentage of all the home sales. Pretty good, right? And in exchange, we allowed him to call this development the PGA Golf Club at St. Lucie. Okay? So we knew from our research a lot of people had recently retired to the Port St. Lucie area. Okay? We also knew just across the street was the spring home of the spring training for the New York Mets. A lot of people come down with the Mets. Amazing how many people minor league teams draw. Very, very seasonal, but they tended to be more upscale seasonal people. Okay? But all we were focused on was we're going to hire Jack Nicklaus and Pete Dye and Tom Fazio to design courses, and they're going to be the best golf courses that anybody ever built. And being product centric, right? All about the product, If you build it, they will come. Okay, our pro forma, I've got it here, was for each course, play 40,000 rounds of golf at an average of $50 a round. During the winter, you get $75, $80. During the summer, you get $25, but that's the average. $2 million of golf revenue. Each golf course, we do 3 golf courses, that's $6 million. We can operate it for a lot less. We can make money. But more importantly, we pursued the dream of all these PGA members around the country, these golf professionals, that always wanted to have a place to go to in Florida, and they got to play for free. We open up, we operate, we end up at 30,000 rounds at $30 a round, $900,000 a course. Here's what we found out. Okay, our demographic studies were too superficial. We found out the average retiree, it's the people that are relocated to Port St. Lucie. First of all, they tended to be from the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, some New England, but not as many, Philadelphia. And we found out that these were working people. And what I mean by that is they worked at the post office, they worked at plants, they worked at, I mean, it was backbreaking work. They were not managerial class. We found out, it's really interesting the research that you can do, that more often than not, these people had the wife was in charge of the finances of the family. And that it had always been their dream to move to Florida. And every payday, she set aside that $5, $10, $25. They were going to pursue the dream, sell the house in New York, and buy the house in Florida. And they did it. They eventually retired, had Social Security, had some pension. They retire, they have no debt on their house. They can't pay $75 to play golf every day. Okay, they were still on relatively fixed incomes. They had enough cash flow coming in where they were comfortable, but they had not established generated any kind of real wealth. So much for that year-round population who we thought were going to go out and play golf every day. They play golf at our course about once a month. And they'll switch golf courses over $1 a round. Very, very price sensitive. Well, that's okay. Down in Florida, you make all your money in 10 weeks anyway during the season, right? At least that's the way it used to be. So we'll get all those seasonal people, those snowbirds, will get all their money. Well, guess what the people that followed the Mets wanted to do during the day?
The baseball.
You want to go watch baseball. Spring training games are during the day, they're not at night. And spring training starts at 10 a.m. You get to go out and meet all the players, and minor league people are there. Okay, they didn't come down and play golf. They ended up playing golf about twice a week, but not 7 days a week. Okay? We just didn't do our homework on the market at all. Why? We had this dream that had been established for 50 years. Someday the PGA is going to have a world-renowned golf courses in South Florida, Central Florida. The PGA members, see, a lot of the PGA members, the golf pros, they're off during the winter. You're in Minnesota or New York or Colorado, there's snow on your golf course. We're all going to come down to Florida. We're going to have a big party and play golf every day. And that got so in our mindset that the due diligence was inadequate. Okay? The PGA invested $15 million in what ended up being 4 golf courses, and they've lost $10 million since then. In fact, they never failed to remind me of. Now, my excuse is a year after it opened, I had a contract to sell all of the golf courses for a $5 million profit to an investment firm, and we would retain control for 99 years. We would manage, operate. PGA members would all get free golf. Nothing different. And my board wouldn't approve it because it had always been our dream to own. So come on. You do own it. Give me a break. It's a 99-year lease. So that's my counterpoint to that. When somebody says, you lost $25 million, I say, well, you did, not me. So I'm at another conference years ago in Orlando, and they announced that after lunch, the senior VP of Imagineering for Disney is going to make a presentation. So we all, 2,000 people in the ballroom, we all come back, and this homeless guy comes walking up the aisle, green leisure suit, had a flowered shirt, hair going all over the place. The next thing you know, he's walking up on the stage. You can just hear the audience like, somebody get the homeless guy off the stage. I'd like to introduce to you the Senior VP of Imagineering for Disney. It's this homeless guy. He wasn't a homeless guy at all. Okay? And he gets up and he says, you guys just don't get it. This is a speech. He was up there 3 minutes. You just don't get it. He says, you try to do all this market analysis and you narrow the market and you say, oh, I'm not a competitor with Disney. I own apartment buildings. That's my focus. He says, we're all competitors. And we're in competition for the same thing. I don't care what you do for a living. We're trying to get people's time, we're trying to get their money. And he walked off the stage. And the whole crowd goes, damn. He's right. And think about what business. If you're Delta Airlines, are you trying to get somebody to commit time to go on your airline and get their money, right? And you say, well, what's that got to do with operating apartment buildings? People don't have an unlimited amount of money. They can choose to take trips, they can choose to spend their money on housing, they can choose vacations, whatever it is it might be. We're all in competition. And his point was really, you got to understand your customer and quit narrowly. One of the points he made was, he said, we hate to say we're competitors. Kumbaya, we all love each other. He says, the word strategy actually comes from the Greek word that talks about competition. He says, do you think, he's talking about the real estate industry, do you think Delta gets up every morning saying, how can I help American Airlines? But you guys all get together at a conference and talk about how can we all do things better together. Okay. He's a very, very interesting guy. He's famous, he's retired now, famous in the Disney ranks because, especially Disney was bought by, who bought him? Was it ABC? Or Disney bought ABC?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, anyway, the point is you got all these corporate types, right, in pinstripes, This guy would walk in and he'd give them the same speech. You guys don't get it. No. All right, Fred's at it again. And he'd walk out and they all go, Fred knows what he's talking about. So, know your customers is what this is all about. How are we doing on time?
We got time? We got time?
Another question, just curious. What do you pay someone like Jack Nicklaus to design a course?
I ran Jack's operation for 2 years. After I left the PGA, he got in trouble and asked me to come over. His standard fee is around $1.5 million to $2 million a course. If it's international, it's about the same, but you have to pay for his plane. It's a lot of money, so that's about what it is. Yeah.
What do you see on the, with all players, people leaving the game of golf as a redevelopment for golf courses that exist now? You see that kind of turn into possibly single-family homes?
That's an interesting question. Myrtle Beach, at its height, it was the golf capital of the world, had 125 golf courses. Now has 85. Okay. I'm sure you'll read the paper down here, though. Try converting a golf course to development.
Yeah.
And see what happens when the people that live on the golf course find out about it. Okay, those are voters. When you go to the county commissioner or the city commission, you say, look, it's closed, it's weed infested, there's rats and snakes, primarily because you made sure there's rats and snakes, right? I want to rezone it, and then along comes Nancy, and she says, I bought this condo in 1972 for $10,000. And I bought it because the developer promised that I'd always have a view of a golf course. And now you want to build a condo and block my view. What's the city commissioner going to do? Incredible opportunities. I have a friend that does nothing but buys up golf courses, closes them down, and tries to redevelop them. His hit rate's about 1 in 10. Tough business. Good if you can make it happen, though.
Bacardi's trying to do that with Palooza in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Bacardi family and
Yeah.
Well, one of the Bacardi family members.
Okay, well, sorry.
There's only 100 of them.
Company in Facundo was doing this. But there was, if you guys go on 836, there was an old Trafalgar development, and now the name escapes me, but it's, and Trafalgar was part of GE, at one point, and his companies all got into the real estate development business, including Disney, but they had a golf course, and now it's actually being redeveloped, but it was all multifamily, and so there wasn't the issue that Jesse's talking about of individual houses there. 836 west of the airport, just south, between 97th and 87th Avenue. That golf course is being redone.
Yeah.
When I was at the PGA, an avid golfer was defined as somebody that played 42 rounds of golf a year. Today it's 12. That shows you what's happening in the golf industry. There's a good point about demographics. We used to sit around the PGA in the boardroom and talk about this industry is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. The baby boomers are going to start retiring. They're going to have all this time on their hands and all this money. Disney guy, right? Time and money. And they're going to play golf. And what happened? They built too many golf courses. They priced them away from the market. And people are not as enamored playing golf anymore.
They play video games. They play video games.
Play video games. It's a disaster for this industry.
How is that development doing? That in Port St. Lucie?
The real estate development did great. That's really what the numbers I gave you were only on the golf course. What offset all that were the royalties on the land sales. So they're actually cash flow positive. But think about it, they lost a fortune on golf and just made it up on the real estate side. So everybody wants to live on the Jack Nicklaus golf course, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
It just escaped me. 1 second. I'll remember it in a second. Mark threw me out.
Interrupt me when you get it. You're too young to be getting like that. That's where I am.
It was related to age. What exactly are they doing? If they're not golfing anymore, what are they doing? Based on your studies, what have you found? What are they doing with their time?
What do you all think people are, what are 65-year-old retirees doing with their
Fishing?
time?
So,
Gambling.
People are more active
Gambling.
than they were.
Yeah. They're doing activities that don't cost as much.
Publix, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Listen, people, I'll give you my personal experience, and I'm getting older. When I was a kid, I used to play golf. I was a kid. When I was in college, and I used to play golf. I used to play at the Key Biscayne golf course before I lived in Key Biscayne. It cost $3 for a round after 3 o'clock. I went a year ago with my brother-in-law and my nephew were visiting, and it cost like $225 in January. You're on fixed income. You may have the time, but you don't have the money. Now, I don't necessarily have the time, but it's a whole day experience. It's a whole day experience, and most people want to do other things than just play golf.
We try to do a deal at the PGA for stay-at-home moms, where we would do come out for 2 hours from 10 to 12, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and bring your kids. We'll do a nursery, take care of things for 2 hours. You get to meet, socialize, you play 4 or 5 holes of golf, right? The golf gods that I work for said, you can't just play 4 or 5 rounds. Golf courses are 18 holes, or 2 9-hole courses. You got to play 9 holes. Where is that written? No. How are you going to do it? I don't know. We'll start some people on the first hole, some on the second, and just at 12 o'clock we'll say, come in and have a salad and pick up your kid and get out of here. Okay? They were against it. Then I couldn't get a daycare license, so it's tough. That's a good example of understanding who your customer is, but we just couldn't get the product right. So, what are 65-year-old people doing? If I retired today, what would I be doing?
Travel.
fishing?
I think one of the biggest opportunities we have, especially in Florida, are socialization for people 65 to 75 years old. Think about it. You worked your whole life, 40 years, especially if you retire down here, you probably had some success in your career. You move down here, you don't know anybody, okay? You miss being at work and being a manager and having people work for you. You miss just the challenge of business. Okay, your wife tells you, you got to get out of the house or I'm going to kill you. Okay, what do? I look at Boca. It's amazing the people we meet. These retired CEOs, CFOs, COOs that live in Boca, they're just dying to be engaged. Okay, and there's no. How do you do that? Used to do it through the churches, but they really don't focus as much on that segment. They end up traveling. Who asks about what do they do? There's a lot of traveling going on, but there's a dearth of opportunities for socialization in that group. So now I don't know how that ties to real estate or if it does at all, but there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of fun people that live down here that are just kind of not doing anything. Okay, this is a good one. One of my colleagues drops out of college after a year. Says, I can't stand it. I want to be a real estate developer. I don't know why I'm taking English literature. I'm out of here. His dad gives him $20,000 and he decides to be a residential land developer. So the first thing he's going to do, he wants to go buy a couple lots and build houses, more just to learn about the business, hopefully make some money, but he wanted to learn about the business. So he's walking downtown one day in Virginia and he comes across an old family acquaintance. This guy, he was the chairman of the county commissioners and he was a land developer. And so my colleague goes up to Hugh, this guy, and says, Dad's bought me $20,000. I want to buy some lots. Do you have any? He says, yeah, I do. You know, I developed this subdivision down here. Yeah, I know all about it. I grew up. So he says, let's go out there. So they go out there, and it's one of these subdivisions where they'd sell a different lot, each lot to a different builder, and they'd build one home at a time. So you got a home on this lot, and then you got 4 vacant lots, and then another home and a lot of vacant lots. And Hughes says to my colleague, I'll sell you 3 lots. How about these 3 lots? And his finger's doing this. And so my colleague says, yeah, that sounds good. He's 19, he didn't know what to ask. So he calls up his dad's attorney. He says, I'm going to buy 3 lots. What do I need to do? And the attorney says, well, we got to do a title review and make sure this guy owns it. Well, I'm sure he does. This guy's the chairman of the county commission. He said, well, just check. So they check, and yeah, Hugh owns these 3 lots. And says, okay. So my colleague closes, pays $7,000 for 3 lots. A couple days later, guy knocks on his door. Black minister, one of the leading ministers in the area. Okay? And he says to my friend, I understand you bought these 3 lots. Yeah. He says, you know, I live there. My colleague says, okay. You live, how close do you live to the lots? The minister says, I live on those lots. My house is on one of your lots. And Hugh sold me the lot, and he also allowed me to use the other 2 lots for a drain field for sewer. So there, the colleague says, well, do you have a deed? He goes, yeah, there's some paperwork involved, but I couldn't afford an attorney. I paid him $1,000 for my lot, and I built my house. And my colleague says, well, did you get a loan? He goes, no, the parishioners all chipped in and built me a house. Did you get it inspected? Yeah. Inspector came by, got building permits and everything else. This guy, this county commissioner, had sold these lots to this minister who didn't know what he was doing. They never recorded anything, and he double sold the lots to my colleague. He's a county commissioner, and at that time, the head of the county commission ran the county. There was no administrator. He was everything. What do you do?
Bulldoze. Bulldoze.
The minister's house?
Kick the minister out?
My bad.
Really?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mark. I would never do anything like that.
I hope
You
not.
go to hell.
Go to the paper.
You'd hire somebody.
You go
What do
to
you
hell.
do? Are you gonna go after this county commissioner?
You're gonna have to die.
Put it in
Are ya?
put it in the local paper.
How many rezonings are you gonna get approved in the next 40 years of your life if you go after this guy?
That's true. There has to be a way around that, though.
Title insurance.
You can't be held ransom like that.
Title insurance said to my colleague, yeah, you own them. You can take them out.
Go back to your father as a prodigal son.
You beg for forgiveness.
Any other ideas? What would you do?
You come to some kind of agreement with the minister where maybe you cut off the parcel that he has and try to figure out some kind of drainage arrangement where you can still build on the 2 adjoining parcels in the front piece of his, or something like that.
Yeah, they were the only 2 lots in the area that it's called perked, where you could actually have a drain field. So they couldn't relocate it without spending like $50,000 on
Okay.
What do you do?
Sell it to the pastor. Actually sell it to him.
Pastor said,
Pray.
I'll pay you $25 a month for 20 years. That's all I can afford.
For each lot?
No, all total. What do? You're a local guy. Your father's a big domino in the business guy in the community. Okay? You're fighting City Hall. You're going to continue, at the time, you think you're going to live there the rest of your life. You're going to develop real estate. Okay? And you've got the leading black minister in the community that's about 35% minority. What do you do?
Sounds like you take the losses, and just keep it moving.
My colleague said it took him about 2 minutes. And he said, once he found out what all the facts were, and he went to the minister and he said, it's yours. I'll pay for the legal fees to get it put in your name and consider it a loss. He went back to Hugh, the county commissioner, and he says, Hugh, you messed me over. You ever heard of Eugene Upshaw? And Hugh says, yeah. So you sold him these lots and they didn't get recorded, and then you sold them to me. And the county commissioner, Hugh, says, you learned a good lesson.
Set up by his dad.
No. Oh, his dad was ready to kill the commissioner. All right, you want the rest of the story?
Please,
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's more.
Improve the shopping center on the wetlands.
He's your boss now.
This was in 1972. Last year, we were expanding a project that we had, and we had to buy some land from you, county commissioner, who's now like 85 years old. And he says, I'll tell you what, I don't want to sell it to you. Let's do a joint venture. I'll put the land in. You guys fund everything and we'll split the profits. Okay. Actually like that better because all he had to do was sign a deed. He didn't have to do anything else. So he said, okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to advance the money as a loan on the property. And we'll get paid back first when it sells in a year. And then we'll split the profits however we're going to split them. I said, okay. Turned out that, no fault of his or anybody else's, there was a, it took longer to get an approval. Our loan matured 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't sold. The foreclosure auction is next week, and we are going to get the entire parcel for $1.
Oh,
And we've already made up a poster that says, done at the auction, that we're going to give Hugh, and it's going to say, this is in honor of Eugene Upshaw.
Oh, that's.
There will be payback. Just took, how many years? 42 years.
oh,
Okay. Always do the right thing, okay? It's amazing, we always laugh about how much money we spend on attorneys, on documents and everything else. And all the time that I've been with our organization, I think everybody would tell you this, whenever there's been any kind of dispute or question or anything else, I can't think of the last time we went back and looked at the docs. The question we always ask is, what's the right thing, what's the fair thing? I don't care what the docs say. We're not going to hide behind a bunch of docs and say, sorry, you know, what's the right thing to do? Okay? And if you do that and you live your life that way, good things will happen to you. It just might take 42 years. Okay?
Did your
So-
friend pass away?
Hmm?
Did your friend pass away?
My colleague?
Yes.
No, he's still there.
Does
He's
he
gonna,
get to-
he's the
does
one
he get
that's
to hand it
bidding at
over?
the auction.
Great.
oh, sweet.
We okay on time? I got too many of these.
This
Wrap it
might be
up.
the last, yeah.
Okay. We buy a 1,500 acre farm. We're gonna sell sand and gravel mining rights, 15 acres at a time. It's really, it doesn't disrupt land very much. What's really cool when you're done is they replace it with a lake. And so when we're all done in about 20 years, we end up with about 700 acres of lakes on this 1,500 acre farm. It's gonna be a beautiful place. We're gonna do a kind of a corporate retreat and some personal housing as well. So we buy it. It's already got streams going through the project, and there are some earthen dams that created a couple ponds for stormwater management. Record rainfall, we had, this is in Virginia, we had 2 hurricanes, 200-year storms, and a 10-year storm in the course of 4 months. Water just came out of the skies and wouldn't stop. One of the dams breaks. Water comes flowing out of the lake, goes downstream, floods an adjacent housing project. Okay? So who do we call?
Insurance.
Insurance company, right? What's the commercial where you just call them and they appear out of nowhere, right?
Like a good
It
neighbor.
wasn't that one. All right, insurance company, you got a problem. I said, okay, so they start investigating and they say, we're looking for the permit for the dam. So we call up the guy that owned the farm that sold it to us and said, where's the permit for the dam? He said, I never got a permit. I was a land developer. I just had my crew come over there a couple weekends and they built this dam. Okay. Did you get a building permit? No. Did you get it inspected? No. Okay. The insurance company says, guess what? We didn't insure that risk. Okay. How could we have protected ourselves? I don't know. Even knowing what we know now, I don't know that I would have, in my due diligence, asked for permits on earthen dams. Okay? You know, I'm just a finance geek. I don't even know if it's natural or homemade anyway. So, that's kind of the risk you take. If that dam, would somebody have said, if that dam breaks and the water goes down and floods the subdivision, well, what's the chances of having 2 hurricanes, 2 100-year storms, and a 10-year storm in a 4 or 5 month period? Okay. Point being, sometimes you can identify your risk. You don't have forever to do due diligence, and you need to understand this is not a riskless game by any means. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Political versus ministerial approvals is just simply knowing. A ministerial approval says, here's the rule book, if you do all these, you'll get your permits. A political approval is, no matter what you do, you got to get the politicians to approve. All politics is local. If you're doing a political approval, you better have somebody there. And oh, by the way, I don't care if 7 commissioners all tell you you got their vote. Don't believe them. Okay? They change their mind. People, who shows up at these county commission meetings? How many of you have been to a county commission meeting?
Only angry people.
Angry people, the outspoken minority, okay, people that have jobs and things to do typically don't go. Politicians react to people that show up, okay? Just to be careful there. This is a huge issue now. Federal government cuts state funding, states are cutting local funding. The great state of Texas, everybody's moving to Texas, we're all gonna live there and it's gonna succeed and become its own state, right? It's an economic miracle. Why? Well, guess what? They don't have an income tax, neither does Florida. And they don't have a corporate income tax. It's a great place, right? They still got schools, they got a wonderful University of Texas is a wonderful school. How do they get all their money? All right, so I buy a $30 million apartment complex in Austin. For the right to submit the deed to be recorded, which we literally looked at what happens. The clerk takes the deed, scans it in an automated scanner, types on a screen the parcel number, who it was conveyed from and to, the date, and the consideration, and they're done in 20 minutes. $45,000 to record a deed. I'm not done. We got a mortgage loan. For the same deal. Record the mortgage, scan it, 20 minutes, $35,000 to record the mortgage. Now I got to get title insurance, right? Title rates are fixed in the state of Texas and cannot be negotiated. There's another $35,000. How did that affect our pro forma? It gets better. The day after this clerk scans it and records it, we get a call from the property assessor's office, property appraiser's office, and says, this property is appraised at $22 million. You just bought it for $30 million. Your new assessment, starting today, is $30 million because we appraised it 100%. And oh, by the way, it's retroactive for 2 years. Yeah. That's the great state of Texas. We're finding this throughout the country. The fees are skyrocketing. These are hidden fees. What voter is worried about stuff like this. Okay? They don't care, and if you're out of state, they don't even care how you feel about it. Be very, very careful in your due diligence. You put in your pro forma 1% for closing costs, right? We'll buy it for $30 million, 1% closing costs. We're blowing those budgets left and right these days. This is simply offense versus defense, is saying, look, everything I've talked about so far are problems. You also can find out some really good stuff and create some opportunities. Real quick story. We have a very successful office development at Quantico Marine Corps Base in Virginia. We want to expand it. We look at a parcel next door, and it was last conveyed in 1840. I don't think that guy's alive. What happened?
Went to the state.
No, it stayed in the family, and nobody recorded any deeds, and there was no wills or anything. Somebody was paying the real estate taxes, but they were nominal. Okay? So what do? We're looking at this saying, well, who do we negotiate with? We find out there's a law in Virginia that says you can do a partition suit, which simply says if you can get 50% of the heirs to agree to a sale, the judge will force an auction of the property, and the heirs split up the proceeds. We hire a genealogist. Anybody know what that is?
Somebody who looks up the family tree.
Yeah. They do the whole deal. Who are the heirs? We identify 97 heirs. 3 are in federal penitentiary in D.C. One of them is there for killing another heir. Okay. We find people living in Washington, Philadelphia, and in Richmond. We walk in. We were smart enough not to put our ties on, but we had to meet with Aunt Wilma, and we had to meet with Uncle Fred and everybody else and say, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, my family owns that? Wow. Yeah, I'm going to get rich. Yeah. And so we were offering a fair price. We had a couple appraisals. And everybody's kind of thinking, but nobody will make a decision. We finally realized everybody's relying on the oldest matriarch of the family. She's like 95 years old. She's blind. She lives in a row home in Philadelphia. She can't hear. And everybody's waiting to see what she's going to do. So we roll up. I wasn't there. Our guys roll up in a brand new minivan. Knock on the door. Spend a couple hours socializing. She says, sure. She says, what'd you all drive today? Oh, a brand new minivan out front. She goes, let me see it. She can't. She's got Coke bottle glasses, right? Comes out. Ooh, this is nice. Yeah. She says, my friend Stevie needs a new car. You give me that car and I'll sign. They had to take the train home. Okay, gave Stevie the car, and of the 97 heirs, 94 signed the deeds after she said go ahead and sign it. Okay? That's the kind of stuff you got to do. Nobody was willing to go through all that. We gave, the reason I have some people got cash, a couple guys got the bling. I need a diamond ring for my wife. No problem. So it took 2 years to get this done. We ended up building 2 120,000 square foot office buildings, paid a lot of money, and everybody won. Family found money, and anyway, you can use it to identify opportunities.
Did Hertz want their rental car back?
Was this a rental car?
Final thoughts, just in terms of everybody's interested in jobs. Again, you heard my speech at the beginning. Find somebody who's crazy enough to pay you, where you can learn and maybe make some mistakes. I think there's some wonderful opportunities. The due diligence site is a great way to learn this industry. If you can find the right job, these firms are looking for young analysts, okay, that go out and do all the hard work or get 97 years to sign or whatever the case might be. If you hook up with the right guy, I don't mean the right firm, I'm talking about really get somebody to mentor you. I think it's a wonderful way to learn the business. End of speech. All right, so I'm not as crazy as you might think I am with all these experiences. Again, they weren't all mine. But But it just shows you, Jorge just said it earlier, this is not a risk-free deal, no matter how good your due diligence is. We're talking about mitigating risk, not eliminating risk. But do your homework and you can be a hero. Okay, thank you.
The interesting thing seeing through this, and I can tell you Jesse's been very successful in his career, and the companies that he's worked for have been very successful. I don't remember the number, but Michael Jordan says something in one of his books about, I missed 3,000 potential game-winning shots, right? Part of taking a risk of maybe making that shot is missing sometimes. In order to do something good, you've got to risk doing something bad. And, the golf course guy, only 1 in 10 hits. He knows that. He understands that. That's his business. Part of being out there doing work is making mistakes or having things that you just can't totally ensure, or eliminate. But what you try to do is have a sound business plan and a methodology and associate yourself with good people, hire good people, and chase every potential, risk that you see in order to mitigate, the risks. And ultimately, more things good will happen than bad. Sometimes bad things happen. You got to learn. It's not whether you fall down. It's how you get up.
Yeah.
Quickly you get up that matters. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
We've enjoyed you coming back in the classroom. I hope you keep coming back more, man.
It's hard what you all do. I admire you coming out on weekends. How long have you been in the program now?
Since January?
Then it's, structured differently now, and it's, they pretty much hit it, every weekend.
Amazing.
Some weekend.
Well, you all have a lot of different things you can be doing on the weekend, and doing this is very remarkable. So
Commitment.
commitment, absolutely. Congratulations.
Let's meet back here at 1:15. We've got a lot of work to do this afternoon. Okay?
Well, I ran long, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, don't worry.
Thanks, sir.
Can I
Yes, I see you,
share the
Dustin.
presentation with them?
You bet.
Okay.
I made a couple changes. Let me, I'll send you the.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Thanks.
And I'll offer for you.
Yes.
I don't have a mentor
Yeah.
in the program, so if you're at all interested for mentorship or just someone to bounce ideas, I guess.
Sure, I'd love
But I'll give you,
to. Okay.
if you have the.
Yeah, let me give you, are you reachable days or nights, or what's the best time?
Cell phones on there.
Okay, good. I'll give you, when I've done a lot of mentoring, there's a couple caveats, but I'll talk to you on the.
Okay. And I obviously, we're probably running by Dr. Ford, but I know he's been paid, I've been in 2 semesters now, and I'm still.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I'll give you a call. I look forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, Dustin.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Have you seen Alex? Alex is the CFO at Procacci.
Oh, really? Great.
2 years now, so
Wow. You like it?
I like it. I just said I'm learning a lot.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's okay. As long as you don't get fired, right?
That's all right.
But your contact information.
I'll probably reach out to
Public domain here.
You have some great
Well, believe it or not, there's some success stories. in this,
There's
so-
a lot of success ones where you don't, or you don't get there, so.
Okay, great.
Good to see you. Thanks. Michael, thank you very much. This is my protege.
Oh, is it, are you his mentor, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple breakfasts together, so wealth of knowledge, that's for sure.
You know, is Gene Berman still in the area?
I have not heard of him or being around, or
I
he
saw
may
someone
be, I don't
who's
know.
teaching at USC. I don't know if that's
Really? But then he traveled quite a bit, and then he might just do that sort of on his, yeah,
Okay, I'm going to get
hook him up with. And that's not a guy that I had a relationship with. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's nice to see you. Good questions.
Thank you. My coffee is, I don't know how many squirts.
Want to grab something to eat? Yeah,
Yeah,
plenty.
please.
in there, but it's crazy sweet.
You gotta take stuff, or you're,
Just
It's
pretty good. I liked it.
insanely sweet.
I liked it. I appreciated it.
That's why I'm struggling with it.
no, I'm so glad.
I like it.
Good, good. I thought of you Tuesday because your kids went to Aquinas, didn't they? Football finished, and I do soccer now too. I don't know if you know, I was the head coach for a couple of years. They wound up without a coach, and they're like, And now I've brought a good friend of mine, Jamaican fellow, good friend of mine, I'd hired 20 years ago when he came out of college. And then I hired him at Cadena. He sort of got into, he's a soccer buff. He had come to the States to play soccer.
Right.
He wound up at American Heritage.
Okay.
He was at Heritage 5 years, 4 state finals, and they got rid of him. So I brought him to LaSalle, and he's now the head coach.
Oh, great.
But we played Aquinas on Tuesday.
Oh, you did?
We opened up the season. We tied 0-0, but yes, ma'am.
That's good against them.
Yeah, it is, it is.
Sorry.
Just one question before you go. This is all you sent me, right? Because I've seen other people and they have like huge things, and I'm just wondering. No, I went to campus to do some printing, and someone asked me to print theirs for them, and I'm realizing that it's huge and mine's like really small. And I'm like, did I get everything I was supposed to get?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just helping out. Mark asked me to print his for him.
Everyone is doing something different this afternoon.
Now just making sure I got everything.
You did. You're gonna be challenged with those. It's just numbers now, but
Hence the-
you're gonna do something with those numbers.
You know, the small ones are the worst.
That's what Mark's thing is like
Actually,
this big.
this is the one, I'd rather do this one than any one of the other 3 that I'm gonna assign.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Lily says now while you're here, when you leaving torches on. Oh, I think this thing's just.
Yes,
I
good
think it's off.
questions. Thank you. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Jesse, we can go to, there's a place called the Daily Melt.
Mhm.
I mean, you may know more places than I have, I don't know. There's a place called the Daily Melt, a couple blocks away. There's another sub place, there's another.
Oh, there's a pizza place.
Where?
That I found directly across at Riverwalk. They're a family pizza place and they're actually really good. They have pizza and like paninis and they're actually fresh and really good.
Are they, what's it called?
It's in Riverwalk, right across the street over here. They're actually pretty good.
Thanks. You decide on being.
Look at myself, a one and one. Gotta see the color in your eyes. Without you, baby, the way sunshine. Seasons change, gotta wash away in the summer. I don't think Robert turned this thing off. How did it still running? Oh, it does say recording. Where's the button? That's not it.